colleagues. Morning, colleagues.
Morning.
Morning, Madam Chair.
Morning.
Morning, colleagues.
Welcome to our talk. We have invited Ms. Zubeida Jaffer, a journalist by profession. And let me also take this opportunity to thank our president, Ms. Nikki Kroster. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your presence. You know, we feel honored. We feel privileged to have you in our space. You know, it's just an amazing experience. That is why I just left everyone just to greet you. And you know, I couldn't let disrupt that moment. It's important because now your presence is appreciated. So thank you so much for being with us. We are also looking for your voice in the discussions that we are going to have. So colleagues, we have invited an author and a publisher. Remember, we are information specialists. Our business is the business of making sure that our clients get information. Now we said as the branch, because it was on our annual plan, that we will have an expert in publishing. Fortunately, she's a journalist. It's not just a publisher. She is a journalist, somebody who has, been in the media field. So I'm going to read, to you so that you understand, who Zubeida Jaffer is. Zubeida Jaffer is a multiple award-winning South African journalist, author, and activist. She started her career at the Cape Times in the 1980s and also spent a short stint at the Rand Daily Mail in Johannesburg in the same year. Her work has earned her numerous local and international, and I'm emphasizing international, awards. This includes the Muslim Views Achiever Award, as well as the Honor Medal for Distinguished Service to Journalism from the University of Missouri in the USA. So take note. All right, you can see that we took, a guru, somebody with great wings to come and be part of our branch event today. She helped with the development of local newspapers, local community newspapers such as Grassroots during the times of resistance to apartheid. Her stories have appeared in newspapers across Africa and more broadly in countries such as Japan, India, and the UK and North America. She is the founding editor of the independent newspapers Parliamentary Bureau, representing a break from the former all-white journalist press contingent and largely male that was the rule under apartheid. Her team served 14 newspaper articles across the country. She is the first woman in Africa to have won the coveted Foreign Journalist Award from the National Association of Black Journalists in the USA. I hope you're noting that. Her memoir, Our Generation, eloquently tells the story of her emotional journey through the years of South Africa's turbulence into the new democracy. Her second book, Love in the Time of Treason, has been described as a tour de force. It has been published internationally under the title On Trial with Mandela. In her third book, Beauty of the Heart, the life and times of Charlotte Maxeke tells the story of the South African first Black female graduate who was a feisty leader at the turn of the century, stretching from 1871 to 1939. So just to add, this book was launched at the University of the Free State some years ago. And it was a well-attended event. And again, I also must mention that, this year is the year of Charlotte Maxeke. So you can see that, Zubeida is the visionary. So it felt like she knew that at some point, you know, a whole year will be a celebration of Charlotte Maxeke. And she wrote this book years ago. The celebration of the 150 years of her birthday will take place in April 2021. Ms. Jaffer is a graduate of both UCT and Rhodes University. She also holds a master's degree from Columbia University in New York, where she earned the award for Best Foreign Student. She was until recently a writer in residence at the University of the Free State, attached to the Department of Communications Science. She continues to hold the position of research fellow at the UFS. She is a publisher of 2 websites, one on her own. The website is there, www.zubeidajaffer.co.za, and the second site called The Journalist at www.thejournalist.org.za. The Journalist serves as knowledge bank, providing context and history for students, academics, and other thoughtful South Africans. This year, I think this one is last year, 2020, marks her 40th year in journalism. So this one is the 41st year in journalism. I know she has already launched her publishers number 10, a publisher. So a company which she's pursuing, and now we are inviting her as the branch to share with us. And colleagues, when we make this opportunity, she is a woman, and we know women, we are in minority, and she's starting her business, and we are in the information industry. We are therefore making a call that, you know, we acquire the publications that she has already published. Let us make sure that we share, we acquire the information resources so that our communities, our students, and then we can even launch these books in our respective organizations, so that, you know, we promote the role that women are playing in making sure that, you know, the lives of our people are upgraded. I mean, she's contributing to literacy, and this is what we stand for. So, Zubeida, I'm going to give over to you to share with us as the branch your story. Thank you very much.
Jeanette, thank you very much. And to all of you who are present at the meeting, that was a very ambitious introduction. And I want to, noting that, I want to draw your attention to an article that I wrote that's on my website at zubeidajaffer.co.za, which is entitled, Who Am I? And it won't give you the information that Jeanette gave you, because it's a broader philosophical look at who am I, and my realization that in the end, I am a child of God, and I am part of the universe, the broader universe, and that I am, you know, an insignificant speck in the whole cosmos. Not that I feel that I cannot make a contribution, but that article, if you'd like to read further, because what Jeanette has listed is a whole, you know, long list of my, I suppose, worldly achievements. But in the end, you know, I feel that I cannot, that is my working life. And for all of us, you are librarians, and that's what your working life is. But who are you? Who are you? And who are you in essence and deeply? And I think at a time like this, when it's so difficult, when we are in a moment that is extraordinarily crazy, a moment that we never thought would happen, we have to dig deep and really, really look at who we are. We are librarians, we are journalists, we are all these different things, we are teachers, but who in the end are we? Who in the end are we as a people? And on the one hand, we've seen the ugliest, the most awful, the most, degenerate behavior on display in our country in the last while. People, besides the last few days, but over a long period of time, and I'm only speaking about the democratic period. I'm not going to worry about the previous period where, that was so extreme, but I'm just focusing on now, because this is what we are in charge of and we are in control of. And we don't want to be associated with corruption and thievery and looting and undignified behavior. We don't want to be associated with it. And I'm so delighted this morning, the headline in our local newspaper said that residents, in fact, where is it? Residents have, thwarted the efforts of looters to attack local malls and shops. And the story is about how in Guguletu and Kailicha and in some of the other areas, people have come forward and actually stood guard at these places and warned the police when they saw that there were problems. That is on the one hand. So we see, again, it asks the question, who are we? Are we these looters? Are we these government officials who steal? Who are we? Who are we as a people? And I would argue, yes, there's a part of us, of course, that there are those that are doing that. But then on the other hand, I look at that story this morning, and then the next thing I see, somebody sends me a Facebook post. And the Facebook post shows it's a group that's called Rebuild South Africa. And there are thousands of people who are volunteering to be on this group. I can send it to you, Jeanette. You can share it later. And I was scrolling through it, and there's one story that shows this young man in Durban. He's in West Street, where some of the destruction had happened, and he's there cleaning up. And then they show others who are saying they've managed to get transport from the Western Cape, for example, and they're asking us to give baby food and other things to take to the people in KZN. And then there are people in Atteridgeville and other places who are saying they're going to the malls and they're cleaning up the mess that people have caused. So who are we? Who am I? Who are we? We are, from what I've seen, and I'm going to come to the books that I've written over these past years and the experiences that I've had in my 40 years, we are a nation that is quite glorious. We are a nation that is magnificent. We are a nation that from the time of colonialism through, we have continuously made efforts to create a just and fair South Africa. This is who we are. We've gotten it right, we've gotten it wrong, we've messed up, we've then gotten this right, and then we get that wrong. But we have continuously made efforts to secure and to have the quality of life that we feel we deserve. And that's who we are. And that's who we have to strengthen. And it brings me to the point of my daughter, who is a teacher in Gauteng. And she said to me, Mom, she said to me last year during COVID, and COVID led to the discussion between us about where's all the work that I've done, and how do we not lose all the work that I've done, and how do we put this work at the disposal of younger people and the broader community. And she said to me, Mom, what happens if you get COVID and you die? I wouldn't know where to start. And then I realized so fully that yes, she wouldn't know where to start, because everything is scattered. It's in my head, it's on the laptop, but in no ordered way. It's with different publishers, it's in different newspapers, it's stacks of piles of information in my study. And I realized, not because I want to feel that I'm important or that I feel that that I'm so important that I have to share, but I feel that it's a pity if the work that I've done cannot continue to contribute to the society, even if I'm not there, even if I'm gone. And I also realized, and I've realized this for a long time, and so I started taking back my books. I realized that I have no benefit. I'm receiving very little benefit as a writer. And I think you as librarians, you would know that writers are at the end of the pecking order in the industry. So writers, let's take just an example. The bookshops take 35% of the profit. The publishers take another 30% or more of the profit. So in the end the writer gets about 20% of the profit, or even less. And in our case, in our country, exclusive books now takes 45% of the profit. There's almost like no point in putting your book there, because you get like a drop of income from it. And so it doesn't, the way the publishing industry is structured, it doesn't affirm the writer, and it doesn't make it possible for writers to, except for those who are very productive, who produce many books, but generally it doesn't make it possible for the writer to benefit by being a writer. So writers, like musicians, like our other creatives, they don't get supported, not by the industry, they don't get supported often by our own communities. And so everything we have to do for nothing, because it's just assumed. The musician has to sing, the poet has to recite, the writer has to write, but there isn't a consciousness that we must guard there and we must support. And like Jeanette said right at the beginning, thank you, Jeanette, for making that call. It's a very serious matter, because if we don't develop that consciousness, both in our communities and amongst our people, then these industries are going to crash. These industries are not going to develop, and we're not going to see the potential of that sector of the economy being a money spinner. And so, having spoken to my daughter and having long chats, because we were in lockdown, that was the time of the first lockdown, and we were in lockdown, and she'd come down from Gauteng, and she was doing online teaching with her students. And so we had a lot of time to speak. So I must actually thank COVID in a funny sort of way. And we agreed eventually to create a business vehicle, which we have no experience about. I mean, I've never been in business, But we agreed we would create a business vehicle. We would set up a company, number 10 Publishers. And the reason why we decided to do that, we decided that if it's a company and if it's run on business lines, then down the line, if, you know, even if I'm not there, then my daughter, if she wants to publish books, she wants to do anything, she's got a vehicle through which to do it. So we thought a better time that we learn how to do this, find out all the details, and we start on this journey. Because as you know, the biggest challenge for us in our country is that we haven't got this experience. We haven't got this experience. And if we don't gain this experience, then 10, 20 years from now, we'll still be where we are. We will still be dependent on a few major companies that will be publishing our books, and they won't be necessarily publishing the books that we are passionate about. But it's not an easy process, but I must say it's been an amazing process for us. We've really learned a lot. We've really, you know, understood it. It's not actually so difficult. It's not actually so difficult if you ask people who have knowledge and you ask them, okay, how do you go about this? And I have, even before this, I've been with the students I work with through the journalists and other channels, and young professionals, I've urged them, I've said, even if you have a job, and I want to make this appeal to all of you, even if you have a job and you feel you're getting an income, you need to set up your own little business as well. Because if we don't do that, we are never going to teach our children, you know, how this works. We are never going to be able to you know, create our own work possibilities. Even if I've got one student now who's decided she's going to make pajamases, and she's called it AM, and which stands for a name, AM Cotton, and she's going to make cotton pretty pajamases that she's going to sell on an online shop. And she's a law student still, and she's every month she's doing something small to research, to find out, to figure out, to learn. She's now just registered the company. She took a taxi, went through to town, registered the company, you know. So the point, this is a topic I can speak about separately as well, but I just wanted to introduce to you the fact that we have, for, you could say, almost for the past 27 years, we have neglected to say, how can we ourselves take complete charge of our talents? Because of our talents. You are all very talented. I listened to Jeanette and I thought to myself, look how beautifully she speaks. Look at how able she is. What is she doing? What is she looking at her talents and saying, how can I make it into a business? Even if I don't benefit, but my children will benefit down the line. So a little bit at a time. But we have to do that because the opportunities are there, but we are not thinking like that, because we think and I've always, all my life, and I'm in my 60s now, all my life, I've always believed that I must just do what is good for everybody, and I must just help where I can. And that is true, that is right. And you as librarians, you do a magnificent job. You know, you give your hearts, you give your souls, you help those people coming in, those young people who are exploring, even the older people, and to get knowledge. But we have to think beyond that. We have to think that, are we going to be, in 10 years' time, are we still going to be sort of putting out a hand and asking for donations when we want to do something? And I've just gotten so sick and tired of it that I thought, no, I want to be able to use what I have, and I have these 3 books, at least. I have my journalism experience. And so how am I going to, structure this into a business that will benefit me, benefit my daughter, and benefit hopefully all of you, hopefully all of those whom I work with down the line. Benefit in 2 ways. One, hopefully we will benefit if everybody supports this initiative, buys the books, promotes it, then there will be income coming into the company. And that's the one thing. The second thing is that we've committed to is to learn all the time about this industry and learn about how we can put the writer at the center of the model, of the business model. And once we have been able to do that, to help other writers to understand this and to facilitate and help. We've already now been helping, I'm not going to mention the person's name, but a very senior writer who started realizing that his books are being sold on Amazon, his books are being sold all over the show, but he's lost track of the income, and he hasn't been getting income from the different publishers that he's got. And we've been able to help him recover that income. We've been able to help him demand from these publishers the money that's rightfully his. And he is a very senior writer. So I'm shocked. I was so shocked to see how, writers are being exploited. And I hope in the near future to address the Writers Association. I can't just remember their name, but there's a sort of a newish group. But we have to look at what's happening, and we have to move the benefits, the financial benefits of this industry, closer to the creatives. We've got to do that. And I come back to this issue of asking you to think about, who are we? Who am I? Am I Zubeida, the one that Jeanette described, which is very nice, Jeanette, thank you. But who am I and who are you? We are people who have gone through the mill. And when I look at the stories of the books, because what I realized as we were working on, creating this business vehicle, my idea was just to republish the Charlotte book, to reprint the Charlotte book. And then I was also working on the republication of Our Generation, which is my memoir. So I thought, okay, the Charlotte book and the Mum Charlotte book and Our Generation, when we launch the company, we will launch with these 2 books, with an imprint of Number 10 Publishers. And then suddenly I realized that I looked at the 3rd book, Love in the Time of Treason, which is a story of a Worcester woman was charged with, Aisha Dawood was charged with treason with Madiba in the 50s. I suddenly realized that I've got 3 books of 3 women that covers 130 years of South African history. It starts in 1871 with Mum Charlotte, and it ends in 2001 with me. And then we ran around like crazy to try and get this book, ready for 2nd edition. And fortunately we were, because I realized that we've got to promote all 3 books as a set, and to argue that this is a possibility for people to get an insight through women's stories of 3 women, powerful women in our communities, 3 women, and over, and how, you know, they engaged with these societies over a period of 130 years. And, you know, in that, if I think of the 130 years and now that's to 2001, you add another 20 years and it's 150 years. 150 years, we are now at that point, and we are facing such an enormous point in the road that can either go downhill, very fast, slippery slope, or we can take another road and we can not spread fear and spread hope and say to people that, say to all of us together, help one another, support one another, and say we are not going to let a sector of our society, a smallish sector of our society, derail all the efforts and dreams that we've had for all these years. We cannot, you know, we cannot waste and squander the legacy of Mom Charlotte. We cannot squander the legacy of Madiba, and it's his birthday on Sunday. We cannot squander the legacy of Steve Biko. We cannot squander the legacy of so many other people. We have got a responsibility to spread hope and to inspire. And that's what I see you as librarians doing. You bring hope and you inspire young minds and people. And I take my hat off to you, well, my scarf, my doek off to you for the work that you do, because you may not fully, you know, grasp the enormity of the work that you do, but in the end, we are what we tell ourselves. We are what we are our stories. And those stories are in books in libraries. And the libraries are, you know, the portals through which those stories come. And so the libraries, we have to support our libraries to go up a notch. We've got to support our libraries, and I'm happy to speak wherever I can. On Sunday, Mandela Day, we are going to, my daughter and I'm going to a reading room in Guguletu that's been started in the garage by young people. We are going to, I was hoping, but now with COVID and all this, I don't think we don't think we can spend much time with them, but what we said, I'll come visit them, bring them books, and we're taking them some soup and other things, and then saying to them that I'll come home and then I'll go onto the WhatsApp with them, because they don't have Zoom or anything. So I go on the WhatsApp and then they can ask me whatever questions they want to, we can have a conversation. So there's a lot of things we can do because we have more technology possibilities now than we've ever had before. And so we have to think how we can commit as creatives, as writers, as librarians to understand that we are in the business of providing information, but also spreading hope and inspiring people. And our company, Number 10 Publishers, is completely committed to that work. We are completely, if you go on to Number 10 Publishers, you will see that I spell it out. I say, we want to find the words that will inspire, heal, and heal the minds and hearts of men and women in this country. We want to find the words to inspire, heal, and bring hope to the minds and hearts of men and women in this country. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak to you. I can't tell you how touched I am, Jeanette, especially for making all this effort. And I'm going to end now so that you can ask me whatever questions you would like to. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Zubeida, for sharing so much insight with us. We are sitting as librarians, providing information, enjoying what we are reading, being immersed and making sure that our communities are getting the same kind of experience that, you know, we stock for them. However, as you put the plight, you know, of what the writers are going through to say, whereas I'm sitting there and reading and enjoying the book, the writer only got a portion, you know, just a small portion of that, you know, journey that they are taking us on. So, you know, it's really, I want to use the word a disappointment, because they really need to enjoy the fruits of their hard labor. So it means that the publishers and sellers are the ones who are enjoying the fruits. So I think the direction that you have taken is quite interesting, and I know for one thing for sure that, you know, our former director, Esther, is here. She will normally say, support these upcoming writers. If you see somebody is a writer, fill that A1 form and buy the book. She will always encourage Mwanda to buy directly from, you know, small publishers, and then, you know, she will fight for small publishers. So colleagues, I'm so glad that we have invited Zubeida. She has shared with us to say, now these are the challenges that they go through as writers. We buy directly from publishers, and now we have received the rightful information to say the best thing, go to the author, so that, you know, we support, you know, the right people. So I think, and I'm going to open this for discussion so that you can engage with Zubeida. Maybe you, the points that she has mentioned, they have touched you. I'm really touched. I don't want to tell you lies. I'm really, really touched. Colleagues, I'm opening up this for discussion. The floor is yours. Thank you. Betsy?
Thank you, G. Zubeida, thank you so much. You may or you might not remember me, but I was at UFS when you launched that book, the launch that Jeanette referred to. I was there. Thank you so much. You know, one of the WhatsApps that have been going around, it's about a picture of exclusive books. Exclusive books in the malls, it's intact. It hasn't been looted. It's because of the contents of exclusive books. That says a lot about the road that we still have to travel. And we're not saying they should have looted the books, but to know the reason why they didn't steal the books. That is still a challenge for us. There's an old quote that says, the writer writes a book, starts a book, and the reader finishes the book. And we are trying to bridge that gap. We are trying to make sure that the reader in the long run reads the book. Now, those books that are in those exclusive bookshops are print copies of books. In other words, we've been having challenges with what I don't want to say the current, but the old ways of doing things where we're buying print copies. Now we're talking the new normal. Now we're talking online books. And this brings more challenges for us. We, for example, at CUT, have a strategy as the university that says we have to digital transform all the departments. The whole CUT has to digital transform. So everything has to go digital. We have a project at the moment that talks about us turning a village into a smart village. And we as the library also are expected to play a role. Now, the challenge that we have, one, is that our authors are still very reluctant to publish in e-format. I would like to have your comment on that. Secondly, even if our authors opt for that, our economic scenario in South Africa makes it difficult because our people, the people who are supposed to finish the book by reading it, don't have money to buy data. What's your thoughts on these two aspects? Thank you.
Yes, we are grappling with that at the moment. We've got the print copies. We are kind of holding back a little bit on the other versions because we're also interested in producing audio copies, audiobooks, because we feel that the chances of getting people to engage with the story will probably be higher if it's an audiobook. That's our assessment. That's the trend internationally. And I think that is an important way to go because people can listen to it on their phone, on their cell phone. So we are exploring that. As far as ebooks and Kindle is concerned, at the moment, we do have it available on Amazon. But that's essentially for an international audience at this point, because we've decided to do it for an international audience because we can charge more. We can charge a substantial amount of money. And of course, Amazon too takes most of the profit, but at least we can get a reasonable amount of money if we sell it internationally in that way. We are not sure yet what we're going to do in terms of selling it locally, because we feel that we will have to bring the cost down if it's local, and then we don't know what it will mean for our print copies. Unless we sell out all the print copies and don't do print at all, or do very limited print, and then just concentrate on the electronic books, we will have to make a decision about that. But for this year, we're definitely still trying to sell the print copies. And in the end, I feel, especially for families and in homes, I think there's no substitute for having, a set of these books, for example, in your family home for young people to grow up with a physical copy of the book. I don't see this as being a useful, exclusion. So that is what we're doing. What was your second question, Betsy? What is the second question?
It was about the issue of data now. You might not have a response for that, but just your thoughts. What now with a country that is making it difficult for our citizens to be able to read the types of books that you expect to now to give us, which are online, when they don't have data?
Yes. Well, as I said, our solution to that is the audiobook. Because if we are able to, if a person can buy audiobook, they can download it onto their phone, and then they can listen to it without data because they can download it. So there'll only be one cost in terms of buying it, and then they can listen to it on their computer or on their phone. So I think we need to make an effort. In fact, we really would like to do the Mum Charlotte book in audio, and we're looking for a fantastic reader with a fantastic voice that can read the Mum Charlotte book. because I think it would be really nice if we could still do that this year. We're not sure whether we can. It's just myself and my daughter, but we hope we can do that this year. I think that's partly a solution. The second solution has been that we have found, as we've just we've realized that it's a good idea to try and raise funding from foundations and, you know, such entities, and then send the books into the schools or wherever we can. And so we've successfully done that with the support from the Old Mutual, and have just sent books to all the provinces. Unfortunately, now the schools are closed, so we have to wait for the schools, but we've sent into a province, we've sent 30 sets of the books to a school entity, mainly the universities, to distribute to the schools they're working with. So it's a beginning, you know, it's a beginning. So it's finding ways. I'm not sure about the provincial library departments. I haven't seen, I don't know whether you have got capacity to buy books, but I think that, yes, you must digitize, but you also need to have, I would imagine you also need to have hard copy, and that we slowly move over to the digital, you know, sector. We will also then have to decide about that. I don't know if that's helpful at all.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. We will support your audiobooks. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, and also noting the fact that just look at you applying for donation, so that you could, you know, donate your books to, you know, to schools. Somebody might look at it and say, oh, but look at the bigger picture. In, you know, the seed that we are planting in years to come. We don't know whose child's life is going to change after reading that book that was donated, that was sponsored. So you see the chain. So you know, people have found a life from reading. That's what we are promoting, especially ourselves as the Free State branch. In 2019, we had a very successful reading extravaganza where we had established reading clubs in the schools around Bloemfontein. So then we had an event. It was just an amazing event. So we have also decided that we're talking as the committee this morning to say, from those schools, we encourage them to write short stories. So as the branch, we also want to make sure that after COVID, when everything settles, when the dust settles, those stories, we collect them, and then we ask for sponsorship from the National Library, and then we can publish those stories, and then we can launch, so that we have a big event. You know, we want to raise awareness. You see, they are young children, they are talented. So, and now you are bringing some light to us to say, you know, Jeanette, these are the challenges that we go through as writers. It's already opening our eyes to say, these are things that we need to look for when we start the process of making sure that those short stories of the young ones are published. Colleagues, I'm still opening the floor for discussion. We can take 10 more minutes. It's 3 minutes to 12. Any question or comment that colleagues might have for Zubeida?
Jeanette, if I may, it's Nikki speaking.
Yes, Madam President.
Thank you very much. I want to say to Zubeida, thank you very much for your rich addressing of this group, for the rich content that you presented this morning. It is incredibly relevant to us as library and information services professionals and practitioners. Reading development, Jeanette also touched on it. Reading development is crucial if we want people, our citizenry, to advance, and if we want our country to advance, not only economically, but also as a nation where we have shared understanding and shared principles. And one of the reasons why there's so much animosity now during the civil unrest is people standing and criticizing other people without realizing that we do not walk in each other's shoes in this country. The divisions in our country are very real and they're very stark at times of unrest. We don't agree with what people are doing, but if we were in their shoes, what might we have been doing? And the question is, if people were more educated, had more skills around sifting information versus fake news, and if people were able to think more critically and apply themselves more critically than to suck up what politicians are saying or what they read in social media, then would we have situations of this nature in our country? I acknowledge that it's not as simple as that, but I think that it's a very important component. Then LIASA has very strongly positioned itself, and still does, as core to the application of the National Development Plan 2030, in which is contained, as you know, Zubeida, the notion of entrepreneurship, and one which the government is promoting in order for our citizenry to have economic independence. And that is why we applaud what you are doing, and to the best of our abilities, we will support you. Then also, talking about the rights of creatives and the small portion of reward given to the writers versus the other stakeholders in this book value chain and the book publishing value chain, comes the whole conversation around the Copyright Amendment Bill. And colleagues, to the LIASA colleagues, I want to say to you, a few of us have been engaged in the conversation around the Copyright Amendment Bill, but I would encourage each person to familiarize themselves with the content and to throw themselves behind LIASA calls when we ask for input or conversations, because by supporting the Copyright Amendment Bill, we are supporting the creatives such as Zubeida and other authors and creatives who are putting out their materials and to protect their materials against unlawful or unauthorized usage. I also want to just point out that this conversation, because it's so rich, it touched on the notion of the book buying patterns of South Africans. And the book buying patterns of South Africans are incredibly low. And our reading habits are incredibly low as well. And our cognition, our understanding of what we're reading, especially amongst our youth, is incredibly low. And that is why, Zubeida, this is just a personal preference, if you like. I'm deeply concerned about the use of audiobooks. I understand their value in terms of it being convenient. But should one not be exercising one's eye and one's brain in the reading process rather than one's ears? It seems to me to be a different biological function, and perhaps, I don't know, the scientists could tell us whether or not the comprehension would be the same, whether it would be better, but to what extent then would our synthesis of what we're reading and how we apply it and how reading changes each of us. As you said, it has this kind of effect on me and that kind of effect of you. How might that be different if we're not reading with our eyes, but rather reading with our ears, if we could say that? And so, sorry, Janetta, shall I finish off?
Yes.
Sorry, my apologies. I think I've got a lot more to say, as you can hear, but let me please stop here and just say again, thank you very much for this rich conversation to everyone, and to you, Zubeida.
Thank you so much, Madam President. There was a time we at the university also had some concerns, and then we have a center for people with disabilities at the university. Then we had the manager to come and do a presentation to us in the library. And then is then that we realized that the curriculum, the library information science curriculum, doesn't prepare us for users with disability. We are just prepared to for mainstream, not for special needs. So she was saying to us, and we're like, hey, is it true, Mardi? You are saying, Jeanette, some don't have to read they read by listening. And we're like, wow. So we also realized that, you know, for our blind users, we have to change them. They normally get students who will read the books and then they record so that the blind students can listen to the books. And then she was saying, you know, there are those students who have learning disabilities. They cannot read. They are auditory, so they have to, not that they're very intelligent, but now they can't read. So the mainstream education system, so you will see that the education system and our curriculum didn't really feel that. Yeah, that is why we still have this question to say, but an audiobook, but an ebook, you know, we'll still have questions here and there. You know, we want people to always have a hardcover book in front of them. So I think those are the gaps that I think it was sometime when was it Endless, the committee that was looking into changing the curriculum, our library science curriculum. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember I wrote something on a piece of paper. I even sent to say, you know, they must also look at, you know, including our services for people with disabilities. So that is one leg. But thank you for bringing that under, because now those are the little gaps that are there. But you know, we have made a valuable point that, you know, like I'm saying, is a gap. You know, it's a research area that somebody can say, you know, I'm going to pursue a master's or a PhD degree and look into this, you know, this curriculum gap. So it's an interesting area that needs to be explored. That's what I can say from my personal experience working at the university. Thank you so much, Madam President. Thank you. Zubeida?
Yeah, from my knowledge, Madam President Nikki, I've always understood that, and I've encouraged people to read to their children when they're small, and to let them listen to radio stories. Because as far as I understand, and I may be wrong, but as far as I understand, that language acquisition and, you know, development of language is what is very, very important is the ear. It's very important, but the ability to hear. And that's why television is a problem, to leave your child in front of television endlessly, because they don't hear anymore, they only see. So they don't need to hear because they can see and they can interpret. So their oral ability decreases. And I remember when my daughter was at primary school, one of the teachers had asked us not to expose the children to too much TV, but to really focus on the ear, to give them the sounds. And they also said that if you want language acquisition to be developed, you make sure in your home you don't speak in a mixed up way. If the mom is speaking English to the child, then the mother must speak English, and then consistently the father must speak Sotho, you know, or whatever other language. So, because the child then can hear one sound, and the ear it's all about the development of the ear. So I've got no, you know, problems with audiobooks. It's about the development of the ear in the end. And African communities and earlier communities have a natural affinity to the oral and audio connection. And then we come with the books and we come with the reading, which is important, but it cuts across that natural experience in the DNA. And so I think that a lot has to be done at the audio level. A lot has to be done at the level of, you know, oral, the oral and the audio. And to really get our children to speak very well, to improve their speaking. I know we say we want to improve the reading, of course it goes together, but in the end, personally, I think the emphasis is wrong. I think the emphasis must be on them speaking very well. And because that would help them tremendously in whatever work they do. So development of the ear and development of the speech. And so that's what I've always understood. I may be wrong, and Jeanette, maybe it's useful, Jeanette, if this gets studied further. But that's always guided me, that's the development of the ear that improves language acquisition. And so we need to consider that.
Thank you very much, Zubeida. My President.
Just want to thank you. Just quickly clarify, in case there's any impressions. I'm not saying no audiobooks. I think what you and Zubeida are both saying is echoing my point that there needs to be a balance. Obviously, audiobooks for those who can't read or for good reason, and for the development of all the senses, so that we are well-rounded human beings, with reading in whichever format that's most suitable to us as a catalyst for change and development. Thanks.
Agreed.
Thank you very much, Madam President, for your insight. Last comment, last question for Zubeida. Yes, Yoho.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to ask Zubeida, like, if you're working and you want to juggle writing and working, especially there's so much rich talent, I think, amongst librarians. But because of the workload that we have, we don't know where to start, how to start, writing. And you know that you have something to give, to encourage people. You have those people who are very poetic. When I look at Kolelwa, she's exceptional in speaking and poetry. But then you find that there's no time to start writing. Where do you start? How do you start? I'm fascinated by writers. I just don't know. How do they get all this information and start writing a story?
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work. But in the end, it's about being prepared to commit and to be disciplined. So I think that when I work with people and I talk to them, I say, decide on a time that you are prepared to set aside to write, but commit to that time. So even if it's 1 hour on a Saturday from 9 to 10, it's got to be 1 hour on Saturday from 9 to 10. You can't get out of that. You can, I suppose, in an extreme case, but you need to be able to, because that's how you start disciplining yourself, because it's about discipline. It's about commitment. And you can't say, oh, I'm going to write a little bit today, and then I'm not going to write tomorrow, and then then in a month's time, I'm going to pick it up. You must decide how often you can write. So I would advise that you don't set yourself a difficult target. You maybe even start with 1 hour a week on a Monday at 5 to 6. You are always going to write. First thing that comes into your head, you're going to write, and you're going to write for an hour. If an hour seems impossible at first, then say half an hour, and you will find that it will go into an hour or more. But if you can start doing that, if you can say that every Saturday or every Friday afternoon, I'm not going to worry about anything else, I'm just going to write. Then this will start getting into your blood, it will start getting your juices going, and then maybe you will get to a stage where you'll say, I'm going to write. I've only been writing an hour on a Friday, but I'm going to set aside another hour on a Saturday morning to write. But I don't see any other way, because if you don't do that, then you'll never get anything done. You won't get anything done. When I was writing my first book, one of the things I also did, but I had 3 months, and I took the 3 months, and I divided the days, the weekdays, into, I figured out how many words would I have to write for a full draft or text. And I thought 60,000 words. 60,000 words, then if I've got 3 months, then how many days have I got, And if I use a Monday as my planning day, research day, then I use my Fridays, whatever, then I've got 3 days a week. So in the end, I multiplied all that together and I divided it up, and I figured out, okay, I'm just saying roughly now, I don't remember what it was, but I've got to do 1,000 words for 3 days every week. So I've got to sit there and make sure that my 1,000 words are done. And if my 1,000 words isn't done for that week, then it meant I had to work over the weekend. And I didn't want to work over the weekend because I had to see to my daughter and I had to see to my mom and all of that. So I planned it in such a way that, so in other words, very structured, very, committed, very, very focused. And I'm happy at some point to talk to you about the process, the whole process. But that could perhaps be, and maybe it's a few of you who are very interested in this work, then we could discuss, some kind of an arrangement. But I've gained a lot of experience, and I've just been invited, I don't know when it's going to be, in August, to speak to 150 teachers about that process and, how I came to write these books. So that's another area of possibility of engagement, with all of you out there. So good luck. You will do it if you decide you're going to do, you're going to start off. Even if you can't do an hour, then do half an hour. But do that half an hour. Don't budge on that. Because in that way you'll see, oh, your pages are, or your words are coming on, And just write whatever. Don't try and figure it out. Then once you've written, 20 pages or whatever, then you can go and see, okay, what have I got? What can I do with this? How is the story? But anyway, this is the other process that I will take quite a lot of time to talk about. I just want to, as we're ending, to say that I do have an online shop, and I do have my own ability to sell books to you guys directly. And so I would really, really ask that you support myself and my daughter, so that we can make a success of this venture, and then perhaps be able to share that method and approach with writers more broadly. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Zubeida, I'm going to share the email. I'm going to ask Anna Marie to send your email to all the membership, so that those that want to order books, I know for the fact that we are busy with the process of ordering some of those books that we don't have from our collection. So that they can also, from their respective branches, libraries, make sure that they acquire those books in their respective collection. So whilst we are speaking like this, Betsy.
Thank you, Jim. Zubeida, I just wanted to ask you about your publishing role, whether it is only for self-publishing or can we send our students to you who like to publish? You know, between Jeanette and I and Isabella, who's a director for the South African University Library, we would like to have to establish the book fair, the Free State Book Fair. So we'd like to make sure that we have supported by them, we have supported our Free Staters to publish their books so that we can have them discussed during at least one of our book fairs. Thank you.
We, at this point, we don't have capacity to do other books, but we do have capacity to advise on the process. And we are able to direct you to, to where you could go, to relevant people. So that's what we are able to do at this point, And so that's the best we can do at this, because we're only 3 months old. And so we still kind of, we don't want to take on too much. We've had so many approaches. So many people have come, even with their manuscripts. And I'm so sad that, we don't have the capacity, but we have been helping them, and advising so that they don't make the same mistakes that perhaps we made at the beginning, or, so they can shortcut the process because we are able to advise them.
Yeah. No, thank you so very much, Zubeida. I see Moses has raised his hand. Moses?
Yes. Earlier on, when you actually did an introduction, you've indicated that Zubeida is a publisher. So yes. I just want the name of the publishing company and where is it based? Thank you.
Okay.
He has put it on the chat. Is there on the chat? www.number10publisher.co.za.
It's on the chat, and it's based virtually. We don't have offices, we don't have staff, we don't have any of that. Myself and my daughter, we just put everything together when people approach us. And just to explain, number 10 comes from the home where I live. I live at number 10, Lower Bath Road. And for me, the home has been in the family for over 60 years. And so it provides me with the grounding that I need. It's the place where I always come back to. And it's in a community that's very old. The Waimbur community is a very old community and settled community. So it's a very grounded, lots of problems also we have, like everybody else, but it's got history. And then next to I don't have a picture of the logo now, but on the logo you'll see number 10 and you'll see a bird. And the bird represents me, because I see myself as a bird, because I feel that I don't do well if I'm confined. I don't do well. I need to spread my wings and I need to fly. And as soon as I get confined, then I hurt myself because I knock up against, anything that confines me. And so I've understood that. I've understood. It's taken years for me to understand that I need both the grounding and I need, the flying, the flying. And so it perfectly encapsulates what my life represents and what the work represents, which I see as being part of communities, part of this community and other communities, but then also, extending beyond throughout the country, throughout the continent, and throughout the world. So, yeah, I hope that is a nice point to end off.
Thank you very much, Zubeida. I see Ms. Ntabiseng Kotokwani is in our midst. Ms. Ntabiseng Kotokwani is one of our members. She's in IFLA, International Federation for Library Associations.
Wow.
So I think accordingly that we acknowledge you, ma'am. We are acknowledging your presence in this gathering. Before I close down the meeting, I'm going to give over to Madam President. Madam President, a word or two from you, and then I will officially close the meeting, the talk. Nikki?
I love how you caught me short, Jeanette, but thank you. It's my honor. Firstly, to the Free State branch under your leadership, Jeanette, and under the patronage as well of a big supporter of the branch from the senior leadership, from Ms. Betsy. Yeah, and to all the colleagues who are on this call and all the other colleagues who couldn't make it, but who continue to support the sterling work that the Free State branch does, not only for LIASA, but for the country, especially in terms of your support for authors and writers and students and reading. So I congratulate you on a wonderful event for today in celebration of South African Librarians Day, but also for the work that you do towards the National Development Plan. For me, it's like the starfish syndrome. You know the old story about a person going along a beach full of starfish and throwing in one by one, and somebody says, why are you doing this? You're never going to save them all. And they say, yes, but I'm saving this one. So you are making a significant difference. Congratulations, and thank you on behalf of our country and behalf of LIASA. Zubeida, you are a voice, a loud voice and a meaningful voice for many years in our country, speaking out about injustices, also supporting the alternative narratives. We know that we all grew up in the colonial narrative of Jan van Riebeeck and all of those, and it's very important for our heritage and for dignity and pride of every person that lives in South Africa, that their story is told. And you have made a meaningful contribution to the telling of stories that enriches the culture of being a South African. I too grew up in District 6. So I had Muslim neighbors next to me and Jewish neighbors on the other side of me, etc., etc. And that multiculturalism needs to be celebrated and not have us ashamed of it, as I was growing up. So thank you very much, Zubeida, for what you have done, and then for what you are doing right now. You are living through the intention of this government to advance through entrepreneurship. You're making a significant contribution to reading development and providing a platform for those who wish to publish or learn about publishing. And so that's another aspect of today. Thank you for generously sharing your extensive knowledge. There are people here who have picked up tips and tricks, and they've made notes about what they're going to do, but most of all been inspired by what you have done and what you have shown us today, and by being who you are. So we celebrate you and we thank you very much for what you have done, especially now for this LIASA event. And then to Anna-Marie and all the other colleagues behind the scenes, thank you very much for all the arrangements. Thank you, Jeanette.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I knew you were going to say it just like that, amazingly.
You caught me there.
Thank you very much. Zubeida, thank you. Thank you. Like we say, maybe we will launch some of those other books that we haven't launched, especially as at the university. I will speak with Marcus and Monday, so that we also launch the books, they get the relevant publicity, so that if individual people want to buy the books, they're able to buy the books. So we schedule the event towards the end of September, like Marcus was indicating. So from the branch, from the LIASA Free State branch, thank you so much for honoring this event and coming and sharing with us with regard to, opening our eyes as information providers out there, so that we are conscious, so that when we do business, we know who we have to do a business with. We shouldn't keep on feeding this superpowers at the expense of small businesses that are coming on board, that need support, that need a growth, since they are also contributing to the economic growth of the country, and also to building literacy. What is profound to us is contribution to literacy, the culture of. I also want to thank the membership who came on to this platform to make sure that this event becomes successful. So from my desk, colleagues, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and have a wonderful and blessed afternoon, and goodbye.
Bye all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you
Bye,
so
everybody.
much.
Bye.
Thank you
Thank
very
you. That's
much.
fabulous.
Bye, bye.
Bye, Betsy.
Bye.
See,
Bye.
I hope I see you soon.
Yes, September.